Hello, welcome. How are you?
I'm fine.
Yes, I'm so glad that we could make it work. It felt like both of our schedules were kind of going like this, so I appreciate you coming
No
in.
problem.
So it's Deborah Lynn, right?
Right.
And Chelsea, just to remind you, sometimes things happen so quickly and we forget little things like that. So I'm so glad to see you.
I'm glad to see you too.
So tell me a little bit about what brought you in and what's
Well,
going on.
I have a direct report at work
Mm-hmm.
that I hired about 7 months ago.
Okay.
I think she has a lot of great experience in her history in our industry, which is hospital procurement, pharmaceutical. And she's worked in several different systems, so I felt that she had quite a depth of experience that would really enhance our program and our health company.
Okay.
But I'm having issues with lack of engagement.
Okay. And what exactly does that mean?
I feel like she is distracted and not focused on work
Mm-hmm.
the way that I would hope.
Okay.
So I really kind of need some guidance into how to pull her in to be engaged daily. The thought has gone through my mind, am I expecting too much?
Mm-hmm.
Am I holding a bar too high?
Mm-hmm.
I know we're all different. We all work differently. We all have different priorities. But I'm just a strong believer that if you're hired for a job and you're paid X amount of hours a day, that you should be productive those hours of the day. I realize you're going to have off days. You're going to have off times. Things are going to come up. Every day is different. And especially in our industry, that's the nature of the beast. But I still think you shouldn't be Skyping or texting on your private phone while you're at work.
Sounds reasonable, right?
I don't know.
Okay, Deborah, do you mind if I take some notes?
No, go right ahead.
So you said that she's not as productive as you would hope her to be.
Yes.
So can you tell me what that looks like to you? What do you see her being productive? What does that look like?
We sit in a very close proximity.
Okay.
She Skypes with friends often.
Okay.
She texts us, takes private calls.
Okay.
I think that eats up too much of her time in a day.
And how do you feel when she does that kind of thing?
Very frustrated.
Yeah.
Extremely
It's
frustrated.
understandable. So when you said that you brought her on 7 months ago, does that make you her boss?
I am her boss.
Okay, so she reports
And
directly to you.
She's my direct report, and because of that, I feel I'm owning some of this. I feel responsible because I helped make the selection, and perhaps it wasn't the best one. So I'm kind of struggling with that, and I kind of feel somewhat responsibility for her lack of productivity because I had more expectations from her.
Right. And so you chose her upon an interview that did she show you that she was suited well for the job?
Yes, she did.
So do you see how interviewing somebody and they bring a personality to the room maybe didn't show insight 7 months down the road?
Well, this is true, but I also have learned since then that she is the type of character that will tell you what she thinks you want to hear.
Okay. So a little manipulative sounds. Is that what
Yes.
you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't looked at it that way, but that's absolutely the case.
So when did you notice that she started to have these behaviors? Was it right off the bat when she first started?
Yeah, I would say it was right off the bat, but I always feel like you need a time period to acclimate. It was a new system, it was a new job, so I wanted to allow for that. But I really felt like at the 6-month mark, you need to blank or get off the pot.
Well, you gotta have a little bit of humor about it, right?
And so now that we're well past that point, I'm really frustrated and disappointed.
Yeah, it sounds frustrating because you go through this whole hiring process and you're hoping that somebody could maybe join the team that you think is suitable, and then it
Yes.
sounds like that they're not being as
And I
productive.
do look at us as a team and a unit,
Oh, do you?
and I use that verbiage frequently.
And so what do you do? What do you do when she's on her phone or?
Sometimes I will say, I'd like to show you something,
Okay.
and then I'll get, well, hold on a minute, and she'll finish with her personal call or text, but continue it
Mm-hmm.
for as long as she sees fit. Which I find odd since I'm your boss.
Right. Sounds a little disrespectful, maybe.
I feel very disrespected.
Okay.
I would never do that to anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even if they were a coworker and not my direct report. I just don't think you treat people that way.
And you have a direct report. Who do you direct report to?
My boss.
Your boss.
Yes.
And so is he aware of this?
He is
whole
aware
thing,
of
or-
this. We've had extensive conversations. I've asked him and discussed some strategies.
Mhm.
So I'm someone who likes to have things written down,
Mhm.
so there isn't any recourse later on with, well, you didn't tell me, well, I didn't know.
Mhm.
So I like to make sure we're all on the same page so there aren't misunderstandings.
Well, that's great.
So that's what I plan to do moving forward.
Can you tell me a little bit about the strategies that maybe you guys have talked about or that you would like to see happen?
I think I would like to set expectations,
Mhm.
very specific expectations.
And what do those expectations look like? Tell me about
Having
that.
certain assignments of work completed by certain periods of time.
Mhm.
I'm finding that this employee is not as detail oriented as I would hope she was.
Mhm.
We do a lot of analysis with numbers and Excel sheets, and if you are off by a decimal, it's going to throw off all your calculations. So you need to be extremely detail oriented, and she always seems to be in a hurry to complete what she feels like she has to do,
Mhm.
and does the minimal and then moves on to her socializing.
Okay. So do you see that there's potential in her? I mean, you hired her. Do you see there's potential in the person?
I think she has ability.
Mhm.
Whether she chooses to apply herself has yet to be seen.
Okay.
And I think it could go either way.
Mhm.
I think she's probably highly employable. At the level that she's hired now, she won't find another position like this.
Mhm.
Because we're at a corporate level, she would probably be forced down into a facility and have to work a lot more physical. But that will be her choice.
Yeah. So you guys are at a corporate level in a corporate office.
Yes.
Okay. And so you said that you have some time frame strategies. Now, if you were to come to this coworker, what would you like to say? What would it look like for you?
I think I would review some of the Excel work that we both do,
Mhm.
some that she does.
Mhm.
She was recently on vacation, and I had to fill in for the aspect of the job that she usually carries that I did prior to hiring her. And so I'd taken the opportunity to highlight some things that weren't exactly accurate and asked her to review them. So my thought is to go through those with a fine-tooth comb together
Mhm.
and talk about what might be causing these inaccuracies in the work.
Okay. And do you think that she's open to listening and to learning and to doing that type of thing?
I'd say the jury's out on that.
Okay.
I haven't brought it to her yet, and I think it could go one of two ways. I think she could either be resentful and like, well, I know what I'm doing,
Right.
or realize I am her boss,
Mhm.
and that is this will affect a review
Mhm.
moving forward.
And how would you feel if it went the positive way?
The positive way, I'd be thrilled.
Okay.
And I try to praise when there's good work and let her know, hey, that's fabulous, I love to see that,
Mhm.
that's terrific, I think this is the direction we want to go.
Mhm.
So I try to have reinforcement daily when I see something good.
Yeah. And then how would you feel if it went the other way? What would it look like?
I would, in one sense, be relieved,
Mm.
because right now I'm not quite sure she's completely 100% signed on to taking on the responsibility of this job.
And that means more work for you.
Yes, it does. And that defeats the entire purpose of having someone
Sounds like
to
it.
help me.
Mhm.
So having someone that's there to help you that doesn't really, you might as well not have anyone.
It's very frustrating, and it's a big weight on your shoulders.
It
I'm sure.
it is.
And especially when you're in such a close environment, like you said originally, to have somebody
Yeah.
in there having conversations, personal conversations, that can be very distracting.
It is, and I think it's distracting to her focus on what she should be doing.
Now, have you addressed specifically the personal phone calls, the Skyping, and those specific things in a manager boss way?
Not yet.
And what's holding you back from doing that?
Well, she was going on vacation,
Okay.
so I felt a little badly about
Sending
being
somebody off.
Debbie Downer
Yes.
right before you, and make sure you come back. I
Debbie
can't wait to
Downer
see-
from Deborah Lynn.
Yes. So that was one reason, and then I'm going to be going on vacation, so I think I'm going to try to plant the seed of, perhaps there are a lot of distractions.
Right.
I'd like to see, do you think that's affecting you? See what her feedback is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that will tell me a lot about, I don't think she even realized she's doing this in an excessive manner.
Okay.
Or to her, it's not excessive and it's just fine.
So maybe she doesn't even know how bad it is.
That's true. But I think I'm not really good at hiding body language, and I think when I get frustrated, she feels it.
Mm-hmm.
She senses it, but not enough to stop it.
But can you take a look at that maybe while you think your body language can be really strong, maybe she doesn't know.
I will give her that benefit of the doubt, and that's why I think she deserves for me to talk about how it makes me feel and how her behavior, I feel, is reflecting on her work.
Right. I think that's great. So do you have a time frame of when you would like to talk to her?
Yeah, this week. She just got back from vacation today, so I was thinking probably Thursday, and let her sleep on it, and then Friday maybe continue the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I return to work in a month, we'll see if we have any changes.
So who does your job for the next month?
Well, some of it she will have to pick up.
Okay.
And it's interesting because I've tried to expose her to more and more, and that's why I was kind of hoping that she would kind of build her repertoire of our corporate necessities
Mm-hmm.
in her own time frame, which she hasn't done as diligently as I would hope.
Okay.
And what happens is we kind of have a Chinese fire drill. Because now that this is my last week before I go away for 4 weeks, well, did you show me this? Well, do you have your notes that I wrote for you because you didn't write notes?
I see.
And, she's a mature woman. She's capable.
Okay.
She just doesn't do it.
Okay.
She's kind of the type, at least in my perception, that rushes through things
Mm-hmm.
to hurry up and get done with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep telling her, fast clicking with an Excel sheet is not your friend.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take you more time to figure out where you had an error
Mm-hmm.
when you know something's off.
Now, have you written down for yourself some of these things that have been bothering you, such as the time frame, going quickly through Excel, slowing down, taking away those personal calls, for you to remember that when you do approach her, these are the things that I really want to touch on.
Yes, I've even taken snippets of some work.
Good,
I keep it in OneNote
good.
so I can remind myself. I also make notes of these different items to discuss with my boss.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's his business line that's being affected,
Right.
and she's my employee and my responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be fair to her, and yet I feel piled on right now.
Yeah. It sounds like you need to have some boundaries
Yeah,
with what your workplace.
that's true, and I had
expectations are.
never thought about using that term, but I think this is a person that needs to have boundaries set.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like you're the boss, so you can kind of create those. And
Yeah,
it sounds to me, and what you've explained to me, that you really care about how she perceives the way that you want to manage.
I do.
And maybe if you can continue to push this into the workplace of your caring and your open heart, and that you manage this problem a little bit more, it might bring some light to the situation.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
Yeah.
And because it is important to me, I don't want to be a micromanager,
Mhm.
and I want the workplace to be a place you look forward to coming to, and working and having some success.
Yeah, I mean, we spend so much time at the
We spend so much
workplace.
time, and you should have that reward.
Yes.
But not all of us feel that way, so that's another thing I have to accept.
So, time frame. You're saying in about a week you want to talk to her before you go on this long trip,
Yes.
and you're gonna kind of lay down what you want to see happen.
Yeah.
And some progress.
Yeah.
So, do you think it would be fair to go ahead and do some of that, and then come back and say, "This is what happened, and this is what I want to see," and we continue to go from there?
I think it would.
Okay. I
Does
think
that
that's
sound
great.
fair?
I think that sounds awesome. I think that you really have a good foundation of what you want and what your expectations are. Just getting there and addressing them.
Yeah,
and
which
having-
is not comfortable.
It's not comfortable. It's easier said than done to be the big boss.
Oh, well, confrontation's not usually a fun thing. And I don't want it to be a negative type of, I want it to be a conversation,
Yeah.
as my boss would call it.
And so, what can you do to make sure that it doesn't become a confrontation for you?
For me, I think writing things out, making notes of my thoughts and aspects I want to touch on. I think being fair and saying, you know, these things that you're doing don't set well with me. I think it's only fair to tell her that than me building up this anger every day, and whether it's exhibited or not, it's there, and over time, it's eventually gonna come out
And
somehow.
have it blow up, and then it's really
Yeah,
confrontation.
and I just don't think that's fair. I think people, and especially if she doesn't recognize it or thinks I'm totally cool with it.
Right. And what do you do? How do you react when it does become confrontational?
I think I'm pretty good at remaining calm
Okay, good.
because I wouldn't want to escalate it.
That's a
And
good
I
thing.
think if you bring it down a notch, that helps everybody kind of chill a little bit.
Yeah. And I think having your notes is going to be really important.
Yeah, and I have examples of work that I question, and whether someone has answers for everything is yet to be seen.
Right.
But the fact remains there's a lot of distraction.
Yeah.
And some of it needs to go away.
Sounds like a great 7-month evaluation at the end of this week. You come with all your notes and with all the concerns that you've told me from a business aspect. I think can be really helpful for you.
Yeah, and it's not personal. It
Absolutely.
is a business, and I think that's another thing. I tend to feel it more personal
Right.
rather than business, but it's affecting our business. And therefore her personal needs to be set aside for the business.
I think that's a great way to
So I
approach
think
it.
that would help me deliver the message a little easier too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
think-
appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Do you
That's a
have
good
any other
thought.
questions for me?
No, I think just the boundaries. I hadn't thought about boundaries because I mean we're both adults and,
Right.
and I kind of assume you're going to do the right thing, but
Some people need a little
some people do,
guidance.
some people do. And I would work the same whether my boss is sitting next to me or he's in another city for a month. It doesn't matter. I'm going to work the same. In this case, that's not what's happening.
And do you
so.
think it's fair to say that not everybody works the same?
No, and I don't think you can expect that.
Right.
But I think you can expect a certain quality of work.
Absolutely, and that's fair, especially when you're the boss and saying, this is what I expect out of my employee.
Yeah,
So I think that's great.
yeah,
Good.
that feels good.
So we're gonna come back, and
Okay.
when you come back from your trip, you have your conversation. If you can make it before your trip, I would love to see you, but if you can't, how about we schedule an appointment?
Okay, that sounds
We'll
good.
touch base on that.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Deborah Lynn, I
Good.
appreciate it.
yeah, it was
Okay.
nice.
Yes, good
Thank
luck
you.
with everything, you're welcome.